If ever there was one woman whose legacy to history could be summed up by the phrase, "He wasn't fucking worth it, love," it's this woman here, Lady Caroline Lamb. And if you have ever behaved in a less than dignified fashion after a breakup, then maybe her story will offer you some comfort to know that you're not alone, and it probably could have been a lot worse. So Lady Caroline Lamb is born to the aristocracy, and her blood is about as blue as it can get. But even from an early age, there are indications that she isn't of stable mind and physical health. In fact, her family call her the little beast because of her behaviour problems. But in 1805, she marries this guy, Henry Lamb. And actually, things do seem to be okay. She's only 19, but they seem really happy. They seem really, really into one another. There were some sadnesses that didn't help Caroline's stability. There was a number of stillbirths, and she did have a son that was born with some kind of learning difficulties, but we don't know much about that. It's all hushed up. But maybe it would have been okay. Maybe everything would have been fine if it wasn't for the fact that in 1812 Caroline met this person. The romantic poet and one of the first modern celebrities, not to mention all-round Regency fanny rat, Lord Byron. Oh yeah, he could knock out a good poem, but if anything stayed still long enough, he would have a go at it. That was his reputation, and it was well deserved. Sir Henry is away on business, Byron meets Caroline, Caroline meets Byron, and boom, they both fling themselves into a very passionate affair with all the romantic abandon that you could possibly imagine. But it doesn't take very long for Caroline's behaviour to move beyond what anyone would term as romantic passion and into something that might require a restraining order. So not only is she very, very jealous of Byron's many other mistresses and will fling herself at him if she sees him talking to another woman, but she did things like dress up as a page boy and sneak into his house and would then go into his room and be like, ha ha ha, it's me. I mean, fucking hell, Caroline. One of the most notorious things that she did was she sent him a letter with her pubic hair in it, but the letter was also covered in blood. And this was what she wrote. "I asked you not to send blood, yet do, because it means love. I like to have it. I cut the hair too close and bled much more than you need. You need not do the same. Oh, pray, put not the scissors near the points where the mass of hair grows. Sooner take it from your arm wrist, but pray be careful." And the other thing that's going on, and this is probably the kicker, is she wasn't discreet. She wasn't discreet. Everybody knew about the affair. Everybody was talking. One of Byron's nicknames for her was Caro, and then she insisted everybody called her that. And please remember, she is married. And the final straw for Byron comes when Caroline sneaks into his house again in disguise again and gets into his bedroom and wakes him up in the middle of the night going, "We have to run away, we have to run away, we have to elope together." So eventually some kind of intervention is staged. And Caroline's husband, who might I just say is remarkably calm and accepting about all of this because he most certainly knew, he whisks her away to Ireland to help her chill the fuck out and to get over Byron and just to give your head a wobble and get your shit together. But Caroline breaks the cardinal rule of a breakup and she doesn't go no contact. In fact, she's writing to Byron all the time. And him, being a Regency fanny rat, is writing back and encouraging her. He never had any intention of getting back together, so I just... Ugh. So the first thing that happens when she comes back to London is she wants to see Byron. Of course she does. But he doesn't want to see her. Not only that, he's being really, really rude about her and insulting. He's saying horrible things about what she looks like. He's saying that basically she's only good for a quick throwdown and that she's gone completely bonkers. And of course, none of this helps Caroline. There was one incident at a party where he cut her dead. And so she smashed a glass and started using it to hack at her arms and her wrists. But Byron wasn't having any of it. In fact, later he made fun of her, saying that she was acting the Lady Macbeth scene. And then, Byron gets married. He gets married to an heiress, and that just completely does Caroline in. I've made a list of the things that we know that she did. Right, okay. So she burnt all the gifts and letters that he'd ever give her in a bonfire whilst paying children to read a poem that she'd written about him. She keeps sneaking into his house dressed as a page boy. She's keeping that one up. She learned how to mimic Byron's handwriting and his style and wrote to his publishers as him. So she managed to get them to send her a portrait of him. That was the last thing that she needed. Oh, she snuck into his house when he wasn't there. She wrote, "Remember me," on a blank piece of paper. And Byron responds by writing a poem that goes, "Ah, remember thee, doubt it not. Thy husband too shall think of thee. Thy false to him, thou fiend to me." I told you he was a prick. Eventually, Byron's marriage breaks down and he has to flee abroad to the continent. But even then, Caroline won't stop herself. In 1816, she publishes a novel called Glenarvan, which was clearly about her and Byron, and everybody knew it. Some people have said that the work has artistic merit, but it was really just the ramblings of a very, very angry ex. I mean, by this point, her reputation is absolutely in tatters. Then in 1824, she gets the news that Byron has died while being off fighting for Greek independence, and she experiences quite an acute psychological collapse. This is not a well woman. And in 1825, her husband, who's been remarkably patient about this and Caroline's other affairs, of which there were a few, including the Duke of Wellington, decides enough is enough, and they're gonna have to separate. Divorce time. Caroline becomes quite reclusive, taking more to drink and more to laudanum, and then 2 years later, in 1827, she dies at the age of only 41. And that's the story of Lady Caroline Lamb. Oh, but she did give us one of the most enduring epitaphs about Byron. She was the one that called him mad, bad, and dangerous to know. Although after reading her story, I'm not quite sure that the same couldn't be said of her.